Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smart Trucking Live. How are you guys all doing out there today? Shannon, good to see you. SoCal Man, Michael Mueller, Trucker Hershey, all the big names, the big rides. Man, just before I came on here, I swallowed a cough drop and started choking on it. I thought I was going to pass out from the damn thing. I couldn't breathe for about a minute. Damn near killed me. I'm still recovering, but I'll make it. I'll make it. Hope you guys are doing better than I am. Anyway, jeez, never done anything like that quite like that before. I didn't enjoy it though, but I saw the comments like bad pepperoni, bad sub. I did suffer one time from a bad sub at Subway. I think I told you about that. Oh man, never been that sick in my life before or since, but. Can't handle Subway since. But I hope you guys are doing all right. I saw Trucker Hershey loading at Budweiser. Which plant are you at Budweiser? They're a great customer to have. Where have I been for them? Columbus, Ohio, and Denver, Colorado, I think. Can't think of where else they are. Hello from Phoenix, Arizona, Trucker Harold. Hello. Boy, I bet you it's nice down there right now. Bill, hey Dave. John Peters, look forward to this every week. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it. I look forward to it too. I enjoy it. It's the only chance I hardly ever get to talk to truck drivers anymore is on these live streams. So I really appreciate you guys all joining us here. I have to get something off my chest here for this live stream. The hours of service have always driven me nuts. And here we are, what is it, September 29th, I think the new hours of service are supposed to go into effect. Sure enough, some interest group, including the Teamsters, by the way, has filed a petition against the latest rule. They don't want it implemented. So I don't know now what's going to happen on the 29th, whether they're going to implement it anyway and just go to court later, or whether they're going to freeze to the old system like they've done in the past and wait for this court case to settle. But, it's always something. It's always something. There's always some special interest group involved and somebody that doesn't like it. And who is Parents Against Tired Truckers? I noticed that interest group was involved. And I thought, wow, they got groups for everything, don't they? But I wish they'd just talk to the truck drivers, find out what's practical that the truck drivers want, and implement it. I mean, could it be more simple? And here with this last change in the rules, and they changed it just before, the middle of September, they changed their minds again on what it was going to entail. But could they just settle on something and stick with it? But talk to truck drivers and find out what we want, what we need. And, I was really hoping for a whole lot more flexibility. Like, I honestly think if the ELDs were properly set up and used properly and not abused by the big carriers and used as an efficiency tool, I think they would be a good thing because they patrol the carriers that ran crazy and beat their guys into the ground. But I just don't understand why the FMCSA can't find a practical solution and stick to it and then move on and not accept any more, opinions from interest groups or I don't get it. It's frustrating to me. And also what I don't get is why Canada and the US, two major trading partners, probably the two biggest in the world, can't agree on the hours of service that they run in their countries. I don't know why Canada didn't just mimic the U.S. hours of service and flow like that. And everything would run smoothly. But no, Canada's got to have its own different set of rules just to prove that we're different. And they don't make sense half the time either. Like, why are we allowed to drive more in Canada than they are in the States? And their reasoning for that is, it's a farther drive in Canada. It's farther between two major cities in Canada. So we got to be allowed to overwork our truck drivers even longer to suit the distance problem. What kind of logic is that? Just, the typical logic you can expect from government. But that's just me blowing off. I'll be all right, but let me know what you guys think, because these hours of service, I've lost track of how many times the hours of service have changed since I've been driving truck. We didn't even have that when I started, and it's just been a mess ever since they brought it in. And believe it or not, here's a story, something back when CR England was a good carrier, and they were at one time, believe me, they were. There was a group, and CR England was involved in it. They're the only carrier that I remember, but their proposal to the FMCSA, or maybe it was the ICC, it was back so far, but their proposal was that if a driver had 15 years experience and no accidents, don't make them run a logbook, because they obviously knew what they were doing. They had enough experience by then to be competent drivers. They hadn't had any problems. Why not just leave them alone? Because they were smart enough to drive until they felt tired, and then they were smart enough to park and sleep until they felt rested. And it's as simple as that. I thought, you know what? That's a really practical solution. And I don't know why we couldn't go with something easy and simple and logical like that, but logic and government, you don't ever get that in the same sentence. So anyway, it drives me crazy. One of the goofy things about this job. But and back in the days of the paper log, you could kind of make the system work for you. But now with these ELDs, you really got to toe the mark, and that's good. I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to work 18 or 19 hours a day anymore like they used to expect us to. I just want to, 11 hours a day is plenty for me, and most people only have to go 8. Truck drivers have to go 11 or more. But I don't know. I don't know why they can't just stick to something. So, yeah, those two words in one sentence. Unlikely. Isn't that the truth? I say keep the 7.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the chat, Jonathan. Thank you for the $2 donation. He says, bring back Jimmy Hoffa.
I don't know how to break it to you, but I don't think Jimmy's coming back. And he was a good thing, and he was a bad thing. He was really good for truckers at one point, and then when he started loaning out our pension money to the mob, well, that wasn't such a good thing. And pretty much everybody agreed on that part. But had he played it straight, that would have been a great union. At one, if they could have played it straight and honest, it's too bad all that went out the window, because he had the right idea. He really did. He had the right idea, but I don't know. Some people say he was forced into the position where he had to deal with the mob, and maybe that's the case. So what would you do? But I don't know. But back to the hours of service. One of the things that they didn't implement yet, and one of the biggest needs, I thought, was when you get stuck at a shipper or a receiver or in a traffic jam and you're out of hours, they should grant you a grace period to get to a truck stop or a safe haven or something like that. That's when you need the leeway. That's where you need the wiggle room. And there's never anything like that, And I find that frustrating. I find that's one of our biggest needs. It's interesting that this latest group here that's protesting, like the Teamsters, for instance, are focusing on the final mile delivery guys, the guys that don't have to run an ELD, because they say, they're expanding their radius. There's more and more hours they'll be able to run without a logbook every day, or without an ELD every day, and that's bad. It's kind of true. And now the FMCSA is investigating what they call last mile crashes, and I guess basically they're talking about like delivery trucks and stuff. I didn't realize that was that big a problem, but that's what the Teamsters are saying. Hey, these guys don't have to run an ELD, and they're going wild down there in the cities delivering. Maybe, but I don't even consider that trucking. But they need more truck stops in Canada, dead space. Yeah, do they ever? And decent truck stops, not the petro cans. Those things are terrible. Is the new hours of service letting you drive 13 hours a day? How does I quit paying attention, honestly, because they're going to change it any day again now. But I think you can, and they've actually got a foul weather provision in there, and I think that's a good thing, because all sorts of times you hit a bad snowstorm and you're down to like 20, 30 miles an hour. You're not making the time, so you can't make the truck stop that you'd picked out that would work for your hours. You're going to be late getting in there. So I think that's a good move. But on the other hand, look at all these guys are exempting from the hours of service. There's groups and groups of them that apply and get accepted as an exemption. Bull rack guys, like, why is it any safer for the bull rack guys to run over their hours than the rest of us? Like, yep, I understand that the cattle need to get there as quick as possible, and it's inhumane for them trapped in the trailer for so long. I get all of that. So why not, and everyone's going to hate me for this that pulls a bull rack, but why not just mandate teams on bull trucks then? That would solve the problem. But letting those guys drive tired, I don't understand that either. So, but on the other hand, it's enough there's probably no driver shortage pulling bull racks, because everybody wants to be able to run with the way they want. So hard to say what the solution is there. But what else was it I saw they had exemptions for the other day? Something goofy. Oh, when the hurricanes were coming into the Gulf Coast there, and they were granting hurricane exemptions or something like that. And I guess I can see that. But I don't know how you'd apply it. Like, do you get to drive 500 miles to get out of the road of the thing? Or I would do that anyway, whether they liked it or not. I wouldn't worry about my hours of service. I'd worry about my safety. But I don't know. I just think it's such a flawed system with so many people having input in it that it's an unreliable thing anymore. Oh, I'm exhausted. So, Sierra England, a good carrier? No, Trucker Hershey. Believe it or not, at one time, and that was a long time ago, Sierra England was actually a good carrier. It was one of the preferred ones to work for. If you were talking a big carrier, excuse me, they were a serious consideration. But those days are gone. They're about the bottom of the heap anymore. It's just, I don't know, new management or something. I don't know what took over there, but they changed like overnight. And that was years ago now. But still choking on that Halls here. Better have a sip. Hours of service for me is different because I haul cattle. Gander. Yes, it is. And, I can certainly see the advantages of not having to stick to the ELD. I can certainly see the advantages of that, especially if you get caught in traffic or something. John says, "Hey, Michael Jackson died." Yes, he has, and it wasn't pretty. Was Western Express a good carrier to work for at one time? Dead Space? Not in my memory, anyway. No, they've, as far as I know, they've always been the bottom of the barrel. I've never heard anything good about those guys ever. But I don't know how they're big enough to get all these people to work for them. Their reputation is so bad. Stephen Foster, good afternoon. How are you doing, Stephen? Thank you for joining us. I've got my old ones here. I got to scroll up my computer. That's as far down as it goes. In the Maritimes, Armour is a huge company. Are they big? I've seen them, Jeff Steves. I've seen Armour out on the East Coast. You never see them like this far west in Ontario. You never see them over here. But I know they're all over the west or the East Coast of Canada. I run ag exempt and I'm able to run 24/7. Johnny Peters. Yeah, is ag stuff so badly needed that they allow that? Like I don't understand the exemption for that. I guess their argument is, well, it's food based, so it's got to go. But I don't know. So that that begs the question: then are the tanker guys that run liquid food and butter and stuff like that, milk hauling guys, are they allowed to be exempt as well? It just opens up a whole new kettle of worms. I hear Western Express gets their drivers from the penitentiary. Some do. Some seriously do, and they're desperate enough it's probably true. Man, scary thought, eh? What are your thoughts on split logging? I never found any real advantage to that. I know some guys on some lanes in some situations with some customers might be able to take advantage of something like that. I was never the type of guy that felt like I needed an afternoon nap. I just wanted to run and get my day done. And I was well used to sitting in the saddle that long. Man, that's how we all were back then. So an 11-hour day, and you stop for fuel or a sandwich or something anyway for a half an hour. So no, that I always thought that was just fine. I never needed to split log, but I know some guys. I had a couple of friends that liked to lie down after lunch for a couple hours, and they liked it. So to each his own, I guess. What are some good companies in Ontario, Canada? I have 2 years experience team operator doing trade shows. Bison, I guess. Bison's got a terminal in Mississauga. Challenger got a terminal in Cambridge. I guess I'd recommend them to start. Not as many as there used to be, that's for sure. Clock needs to be stopped while the truck is parked waiting for loading. 68 hours. Yeah, I agree with that. Mel Keister? Yeah, that's exactly right. You shouldn't be sitting there on duty while they're loading your trailer. And that was always the way we used to log. It was show that off duty. But yeah, no, I think that's not right. I think it should be the driver's choice whether he chooses to call that on duty or not. It's him in the situation. I think he should have the call.
Dave, we had a question here. If you could introduce a new hours of service rule, what would it be?
That's a good question, and I would just I like that old thing. Everybody with 15 years or more that haven't had an accident, I'd cut them loose altogether, and I'd restrict driving to 10 hours and your day to 14 hours, so you can spend a few hours loading or something like that, but not be abused, not have the carrier abuse you like that. And the carrier, that's one of my biggest griefs. And there's something else I don't like about the ELDs is the carrier uses it as an efficiency tool. So they see you book off and go to bed, they watch the clock, and you've got your mandated sleep time in it, and that's up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they contact you on the Qualcomm or however they do it now, and roast you up and wake you up because they got to get you going. I don't think that's right at all. I think that's dangerous. In fact, I don't think carriers should be allowed to do that. I think anyone that's gone to bed to rest should wake up when they feel rested, when they're ready to go. That's for them to determine, not for the carrier to determine, not for the hours of service to determine. I think the guy knows, or the driver knows, when he or she has had enough rest to go and be safe. I think it's their call, and I truly believe that.
Jonathan Mestro, thank you for the $5 once again. Says just made 250 in 45 minutes past a level 1. Gotta love GP Transco. Perks of having good equipment.
Nice.
Good to hear.
Yeah, they do have nice equipment too, don't they? I even like the color of those things. Yep. Good, Jonathan. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know too. I hear at Melton Truck Lines, an alarm will sound in your truck if you're not moving after 10 hours. See, that's the type of thing I think is just crap. I don't know if that's true or not about Melton, but right then and there, that would be it for me. I wouldn't work for those guys. You've got to have enough rest, and it's your call as to how you feel, not their call. Go back to old school rules, Fred Besmer. Yeah, they worked. They really worked. They honestly did. Now, I understand now that there's a huge new driver pool of younger guys and girls, younger drivers. And I think you've got to kind of help them with the hours that they run and stuff like that, because some of them would run their butts off if you'd let them, trying to impress their new boss and stuff like that. Or some of them would be bullied into running 18 hours a day. And you don't want that either. I think the newer drivers should be helped, and the older ones with lots of experience and no accidents, just cut them loose. They obviously know what they're doing by now. So, but carriers like to have control. I don't know why. It's a control thing. Any thoughts on Martin Transport for rookie? Martin used to be good. Lately I've been hearing some not so nice things about Martin, but they were a good carrier, and not that long ago. I've been sorry to hear that their reputation is sliding, but it'll probably be the same thing. They don't want to pay and as much, and they're getting you get what you pay for. I don't know how else to say it. So, but yeah, they were a good carrier at one time. These days, I'm not so sure. Geez, clearly clean, $27.50 per hour and home every day. Kevin Lemcom. Well, that's pretty good. That's what everybody should be doing. If my truck is a 2012, do I have to run some sort of ELD? Rick, if you're going to run outside 150-mile radius now, yes, you're going to need an ELD. If you're just working locally, no, you're still allowed to run a paper log. Love my job hauling containers out of the ports of LA. Yeah, Trucker Herald. I hear that waiting time can be an issue when you're working the ports, but other than that, it seems to be nice, clean, easy work. Anyway, you just sit there, get your turn, get your can, and get out. So I can see the advantage of that. And I know the can guys around here, when they bump the dock, they're on the clock, and it's up to the receiver to unload them as quickly as possible, because they're paying for every minute that guy is there. And I like the sound of that. I think drivers should be paid for all their time. I know it's a concept that the trucking companies don't like, but I don't care. That's what I think. If there were only a truckers union for old school rules. Yeah, exactly right. I think that'd be a wonderful thing. At GP Transco, they leave me alone and just let me do my job. And that's what good carriers do. They know they've got good people. They know they can trust them. They know what their drivers are doing. Leave them alone, and you'll hear from them if they've got an issue that they want help with, like, their receiver isn't showing your appointment time or something like that, and you get there. But other than that, leave the guys alone, the drivers alone, because they've got enough stuff on their mind. They don't need to be babysat. That's another one of my big pet peeves, is being babysat by a carrier. But no, GP's Transco's got it on the ball. There's no doubt about that. Any comments on Melton flatbed? First attempt at flatbed. God help me, it's winter. Ty, I don't know. They used to be a pretty reputable flatbed outfit. I don't think you ever got rich there. But they used to be, they had a good reputation. These days not so much, but just strap the hell out of everything. Make sure the load's secure. And drive like you're driving Miss Daisy. That's my best advice. Gil Garcia, just got my CDL. I took 8 classes in school, named one day CDL. Would you suggest to go to a 160-hour course or a big carrier to get more training? That's a good question. I think I'd go to the big carrier because they'll give you behind the wheel time, whereas I'm not sure the 160-hour course would necessarily. But I'm for training, hands-on training. I'm not for classroom training. I think you get your training driving the thing. So I'd go to the carrier.
Jock, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Hope you're enjoying the stream.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Micromanagement is a losing strategy. SoCal Sandman. That's right. That's exactly right. It is a losing strategy. And I don't know why they feel the need. Some people think they know better, but no. Micromanagement is exactly a losing strategy. That's right. I don't like Qualcomm. When I get a message from dispatch or driver leader, nonstop, even with volume off. Yeah, some of those machines are just. I had one. When I quit running California, I went to like a tanker job, as a kind of like a semi-retirement job, and they had ELDs, and that was where I learned about ELDs, and I pretty quickly learned how to muffle the thing and shut the thing off and stuff, because they would try that in the middle of the night. They'd try to wake you up for something. Didn't take me long to learn how to disconnect that thing. They didn't like it, but I didn't care. TMC treats their drivers like garbage. That's from Dead Space. Sorry to hear that, because TMC's got a pretty good reputation and pretty nice equipment, but I hadn't heard that they were hard on their drivers. Dead Space says that. I hadn't heard that. Sorry to hear that. Best to get CDL from a large carrier is they can help you with your employment. Yeah, trucker. Well, hopefully the idea is if you get your training from a large carrier, they'll hire you after your training. So that's kind of the way that works, and that works really well, because if it's a great big carrier, you can learn on their equipment, make a few mistakes, learn not to do that again, and then move on. Everybody makes mistakes. Even experienced guys make mistakes. So don't be too hard on yourself when you rub the side of a trailer or catch a pole or something like that. It happens to everybody. What you've got to learn, though, is where you made your mistake and not to make it again. So big carriers have the kind of trailers you can practice on with that. So when you get to a better company, then you remember to swing wide. Itchy nose. That used to mean something. I forget what it means. You're going to kiss a fool. Is that what it means? They said it means I'm going to kiss a fool. I'm the only fool in this room, so I'm not sure what that means. Just make sure and get a good trainer. If he ain't sitting side seat or driving seat, he ain't training. That's right. Kelly Patterson. They've got to be. This is what amazes me about Werner. The trainer's in the bunk. How is the trainer helping you when he's in the bunk? And that's why they lost those two multi-million-dollar lawsuits here last year, the year before. They're trainers in sleeping, and the rookies in the dead of night in the snowstorm driving along, and they wonder why he has a problem. Gee, I don't know. Poor guy. Dead Space. I drove around at night, so if I got in an accident, no one would be around to see. I like that. That's funny. I bet your carrier doesn't think that. I like it, though. The day you think you know everything is the day to stop. You learn every day. That's Bill and Lori. Yeah, that's exactly right. You learn something virtually every day. No, that's exactly right. That's why I used to hang around the old guys too, because they'd forgotten more than I'd learned. So those guys were a wealth of knowledge. Can we get shipper and receivers to document when we bump the dock and the weather we're sleeping in or on the dock watching load or unload? Depending on the shipper, of course. Some of them are very good. Some of them will cooperate hand and fist because they understand what you're going through. They understand. They see what you're going through. Some of them not so much. It's kind of up to the individual. But yeah, some of them are really good that way. Absolutely, because they know that your carrier's on your butt about making time, and some of them will say, yeah, ice storm here, or make a little note on the bill like that. Some of them are really good. If you ask them, they won't think of it otherwise, but if you ask them, some of them are really good. SoCal Sandman, 26 years and I'm still learning. That's why I'm here to learn. That's you learn every day, like we were just saying. That's right. And you can learn from people just by watching them, watching some of these guys in the truck stop, which can be really entertaining as long as they're not trying to back in next to you. But yeah, you learn stuff every day. Drive hard and still get paid less than most warehouse workers. That's not right. That's got to stop. That's why you've got to be selective to pull for a good carrier, because some carriers will just take advantage of you. Mega carriers are good to get the CDL license, but it's hard to working for them is horrible. Yeah, they've never been my choice for a long career term. They have their advantages, but they have their place as well. And most experienced hands won't drive for mega carrier. Now, mega carriers, I've talked to a couple of guys that had a lot of years in that just do like local work by the hour for some of the big carriers. And I think they do pretty well. They seem happy. They've got enough seniority. They can kind of dictate what they're going to do and what they're not. So, in some instances, it's okay. I've actually met a couple of Werner guys that ran local that did all right, too. Hard to believe, but I have. Ty, I'm a former 88 millimeter military driver. I give civilian truckers a lot of respect for the patience they have. I'm frustrated how the super truckers just sit and record rather than assist. Yeah, I hear you on that.
Jonathan, once again, thank you for the $5 of generosity. He said he had a DOT inspector tell him that he ticketed a TMC driver for a taillight out. Said the driver lost his bonuses for over a year. He wants to know if you think that's a little bit overkill.
Yes, I do. I think that's just a nasty trick. Taillights will go out or something like that. I think that's completely uncalled for. Very unfair. I've seen one guy stand on the step of the truck while backing in. I've seen the occasional guy do that. I saw one guy was standing on his step and he hit the dock before he was expecting to hit the dock, like he bumped the dock hard and fell off the truck. And the truck was still in reverse, banging on the building. This guy's scrambling to get off his feet in the parking lot. I saw that one time years and years ago at a receiver that I was delivering to. It was kind of funny and kind of scary to watch all at the same time. But yeah, that's not a practice I'd condone. I've seen guys do that, but just after watching that one guy do that and fall off, that cured me even thinking about it. Container guy, split log is handy to get home if you're a little short. Yeah, I can imagine there are advantages to it with some guys and some runs, but yeah. But see, I think, if you're 10 hours or up or whatever it is and you're 20 miles from home, I think they should grant you the good grace just to allow you to get home. Like, why would you sleep in a rest area or a parking lot 20 minutes from your house? That's the kind of stupidity that I don't like about the hours of service rules so far. I hope they keep tweaking them. I hope they keep tweaking them. And then the FMC's got a new director, FMCSA, got a new director of the week. And so far I'm happy with him because he's introduced a driver panel to get their opinion on different things. He says it's going to be 20 to 25 drivers of all different types of driving, short haul, long haul, tankers, all sorts of varieties, ag haulers, livestock haulers, just so they can get a well-rounded idea of the problems within the industry. And I think that's a really good move by this guy, and I'm pretty happy to see that. Hopefully, he'll listen to them and it'll be implemented, because apparently they haven't picked the 20 or 25 guys yet, but I think that's a wonderful idea if they follow it through. So right now I'm pretty impressed with this new guy. I hope he keeps it up.
Ty wants to know if you have any comments or ideas on helping out DOT inspect our trucks.
On helping out the inspectors?
The driver's getting inspected.
Oh, yeah. Just stay quiet. Don't talk to the guy. Be respectful, but don't try to chat them up. Speak when you're spoken to. Be polite, and because those guys can, if they want, write you as many tickets as they absolutely feel like. So your best policy is be polite, be quiet, and get the heck out of there before they find, because they can always find something.
Paul suggests that you might be able to take the free prostate exam if you're willing.
I'm sorry, take what?
Take the free prostate exam. It's a shame that I had to repeat that comment. But
Who said that?
First time.
Sometimes if you're a smart guy, you end up getting the prostate exam. I had a friend in customs years ago that was mouthing off to a couple of the customs officers, and we were all sitting there waiting to be cleared. And one guy says to me, "Just wait, you're going to hear the snap of the rubber glove in a second," intimating that this guy was going to be in for the prostate check any minute now if he didn't shut up. Free prostate exam. Those guys, customs guys, are like God in that territory. They can do whatever they want. So it's just the wrong place. It's even worse than mouthing off to a DOT officer. You don't ever mouth off to a customs officer. Man. Oh, jeez. They can take your truck. They can seize your truck and throw you in behind bars until they're happy. So don't ever mess with those guys. Ty says, rubber gloves make me nervous. They make everybody nervous, Ty. Oh, I don't know how this degenerated from the hours of service to the rubber glove talk, but we should get back on topic. And if I have read some American guys that think the hours of service up here in Canada is better than what they have in the States. Now I'm the complete opposite of that. But what do you guys think about that? Like up here we can drive 13 hours. And I think that's too much work for me. That's more than I want to drive anymore. But some guys like that idea. What do you guys think? Would you guys, if it was legal, would you guys be in favor of running the 13 hours? 10 or 11's plenty for me. So, there's Hamish K. How are you, Hamish? Good to see you. Shan and Davey laugh. I had a guy near Colorado, Wyoming on Colorado 13 at a portable lecture me for hours about lug nuts. Yeah, some of them can have a real focus on their little pet peeves. Yes. We have a torque rule for lug nuts here in Ontario. And the local DOT guy here, he's retired now, but he would check the torque on your wheels and follow you for like 30 miles if you were loaded, and then check the torque again to see if he could get like another partial turn out of the lug. And you know what? Often he could, which is why that you have a retorque law in some provinces and states. And he proved it up here to us that they can loosen off just a little bit, and he showed us. And so I'm an advocate of retorquing, believe it or not. It shouldn't be, but not everyone's got really, really powerful air guns. Their pressure leaks off. U.S. Customs did not have a sense of humor. Fred Besmer. Generally, you're right. In general, I'm trying to think if I think I've met one with a sense of humor, but yeah, generally they're a pretty serious group. We used to say, and I don't know how true it is, but we used to say that the guys that made U.S. Customs were guys that failed to get on the police force, or guys that thought Customs was going to be like Miami Vice and found out they were just pushing a pencil at a port all the time and really hated their job. So I'm not sure which it is or if either's true, but no, they're a pretty strict group for most of the time, I think.
Michael Mueller says that he thinks all FMCSA members need to do a 1 week ride along to see what they deal with daily.
Oh, I'd be all for that. It's amazing how these politicians are allowed to make rules and don't know the back end from the front end of a truck. It just blows me away. And then they have this what did they call that here? They held a little while ago. It was some sort of a safety seminar meeting a few weeks back, and there were a few guys there with that actually drove a truck because they were invited into this meeting. Louis Pug, I hope I'm saying that right. He's a big wheel with the OOIDA. He was there, and I wish I could remember that woman's name, but she was in there too. But they were the only two ones that had ever really driven a truck and understood what they were talking about. And they were telling the group one thing. I know what it was. And the mega carriers were in there trying to push these automatic driving assist systems. And the two drivers with experience were saying, no, you don't want that. But the mega carriers were going, oh yeah, that's exactly what we need next. Lower the accident rate by putting in more electronic equipment. And the experienced driver's going, no, that's not going to work. And I agree with Louis and the woman there that was speaking. She was quite bright, but I hope they listened to them. Probably not. But Michael Mueller says he would run 13 hours. Let me ask you this, Michael: if you were tired after 11 and wanted to park, do you think the carrier should be allowed to force you to run another 2 hours? Because I don't. And that's what happens up here now, is they push their drivers to max out their time all the time. And some days you feel good and 13 hours is no problem. And other days you're not feeling well, or you had a bad Subway sandwich and you need to land, and the carrier gets all over you. So I think it should all be the driver's call. He's the captain of the ship. I think it should be completely up to the driver.
Roberto says hours of service suck. Drive as a team. You work 24/7, 365 days of the year.
I found teamwork very tough. I could never sleep in the truck, never get a good rest in the truck. I know a few guys can, but I was never one of those guys. I don't think teams should be forced on any driver. I know they enforce having teams at some places, and I don't agree with that either. Because some guys at the end of the week haven't slept more than 5 hours. Those guys are dangerous on the road. I've seen it. How am I going to get my company to pay parking when I need to pay? Paul, are they refusing? Well, I gather they must be refusing to pay for your parking. That's crap. That's crap.
Container Guru says, me and my wife have an awesome job pulling containers, and we work 4 to 5 day weeks running team home on weekends, making awesome money. Yeah,
and there's something I should have mentioned too. Husband and wife teams are a whole different ball game, because they have each other's safety in mind. Of course, nobody there wants to crash the truck, not him, not her. And generally husband and wife teams will take a break. They won't run like a machine. They'll stop and have dinner together or something like that. I have no problem with husband and wife teams, because they haven't proven to be a safety issue ever that I'm aware of. It's the ones that are being driven, like being whipped. Those teams, those guys are the ones in trouble. Like, look at that team there 2 years ago that took out a toll booth on the Oklahoma State Freeway. Like, just the guy fell asleep at the wheel, ran right through the booth. I think he was tired. Of course he was.
AJ's Woodshop would like to know, how does the hours of service rule work if you cross the border?
Well, if you're crossing from Canada into the States and you've run 13 hours to get there, get to the border in Canada, you cross the bridge, you're in violation. You're out of hours right there. So, that makes no sense to me. They should match up, because you can be in violation in one country and legal in the other, all at the same time, depending on which side of the bridge you step onto. And you can cross the bridge on a traffic-free night in about 20 minutes. So 20 minutes later, you're 2 hours out of hours, 2 hours past your hours of service. I think that's crazy. So what I used to do, because I was crossing all the time, I would just come up into Canada and stick to the American hours of service, because they were the lower number of driving hours. So you'd always be legal. You'd never get caught into that 13 hours in Canada and then crossing into the States thing. So I just ran American rules always, and that worked for me.
While we're on this stem of the topic here, somebody actually asked earlier if the hours of service in Ontario were the same as the States.
No. All of Canada is you can drive for 13 hours in Canada, everywhere in Canada. So they're not the same at all. They should be. I think they should all match up, Canada and the U.S., but Canada's goofy that way. Not only that way.
All right, stream. We'll take a few more questions for this afternoon, and then we'll wrap it up for the day here. So go ahead and toss your questions at Dave, and we'll get them at him at light speed here.
Michael Mueller. No one forced me. I'm still the captain of my ship. That's how everybody should operate. You're the one that's going to get in crap if you roll the truck. You're the captain of the ship. You make the call. You call the shots, not them. I don't imagine you have that problem over there, Michael. They're a pretty good carrier. Yeah, on e-logs now, this is Woody Bryan. On e-logs now, when you cross borders, the computer automatically switches the rules from one to the other. That's right. That's right. I was on for that tanker outfit. I was using their PeopleNet system, and it was really good. It was a really good system. All you had to do was watch the screen and follow the prompts. So it was really nice that way. And when I would get pulled over in Canada, they don't have the e-logs here yet as a law. But when I would get pulled over in Canada with the e-logs machine, they would just look at the machine and go, okay, on your way, because they knew I couldn't be cheating on my hours of service when they saw that thing. So they were kind of nice that way.
How much money would you suggest to have saved up before becoming an owner-operator?
As much as possible. If you don't have 20 grand, I wouldn't even think about it. The more the better, but a bare minimum of 20 grand. I don't have a problem crossing the border except from Ontario to Detroit. Stephen Foster. It's been a long time since I crossed there, but like the bridge used to spit you out on Fort Street in Detroit, and that was a dangerous little part of town. I don't know if it's any better or not, but hopefully it is. But man, you'd see some scary stuff on Fort Street there at night.
Jonathan Mestrel, once again, appreciate the generosity on the $5 donation. He says, thanks again for the great content and /info. Maybe do a video behind the wheel for old time's sake. We've been trying to push him to do that, so we'll be hoping to have a video with the truck in it in one of our upcoming Friday videos. And as an important side note, he mentioned that Nick would like a raise, and I couldn't attest to that more. Agree to that more, rather. So, Jonathan, I support your comments and your thoughts fully.
Jonathan, thank you. Yes, we are going to do a couple driving videos here shortly. As for Nick wants a raise, well, he does deserve one. We'll have to see what we can do for him.
I'm already making more than Dave anyway. So it's all good. So, A-Dog would like to know what type of music you listened to when you first started trucking.
Oh.
ABBA.
My wife says ABBA. I hate ABBA. I listen to AC/DC, and that would keep me awake as long as I wanted to drive. Good hard pounding stuff like that.
I believe
AC/DC.
you were a Celine Dion fan at one point, weren't
Who?
And ABBA.
you? Fan of U2, Backstreet Boys?
No, none of that
Classics.
stuff. None of
What
that.
real men listen to?
Oh God, they're out of their minds over there. No, I listened mostly to AC/DC. I liked a lot of stuff, but for staying awake, which is what I was trying to do half the time, back in the day, was good old AC/DC pounding away. Hey, Big Earl. Big Earl, how are you? Can you go over about the newer hours of service? I think my company is trying to not get me home to my old lady faster. You know what, Earl? Right now it's anybody's call. They thought they had the rules set for September 29th, and now there's a lawsuit trying to stop that. So I don't know if the hours of service are even going to change September 29th like they were supposed to. But if you're a highway guy, and I believe you are, I don't think it's going to affect you. They seem to be concentrating more on the local guys and the split sleeper burst stuff. I don't think it should affect you at all one way or the other. So tell them you want to go home and you're heading home, and if they can find you a load, great. But either way, you're going home. Just present that option to them because you got to get home. Thunderstruck, Michael Mueller, maybe my favorite AC. One of my top 5 favorite songs, anyway.
Roberto asks if you have any tips on hauling produce as to not sit for hours on end, and as a soon-to-be owner-operator, should we avoid this?
Produce houses, that's just the way they are. So if you're going to haul produce, I suggest you haul it long because you can use that loading time as a break or, part of your 34-hour reset or something like that. That's just part of the game. Produce isn't going to change because they've got to wait for the stuff in their coolers to hit the proper shipping temperature and stuff like that. So you're not going to change those guys. So do it long haul so you appreciate the break while you're getting loaded rather than it's tying you up because you've got to be 500 miles away in 10 hours or something like that. So don't run produce short, run it long.
All right, as our last question for the stream here, we're going to go with one from A-Dog. What was your favorite truck and least favorite truck to drive?
I've been very lucky that way. I've always had good trucks to drive. I could tell you a few of the trucks I didn't like, but I didn't drive those trucks. But as for my favorite truck, I don't know. The 379 Pete that I have right now, one of my very favorites. I drove a W900A for Richardson Transport in Calgary. Love that truck. So I've had some nice trucks. I really have. So, but no, I've never really driven a lemon. So I've been lucky that way.
And what's the truck you didn't like?
Pardon me? The truck I didn't like? Well, I don't like Volvos. I'm not a big fan of Freightliners.
Your least favorite truck?
My least favorite truck, Volvo. But I've never had to work one. I just think they're ugly as sin. But that's I guess that's not the whole battle. Reliability is part of the battle. Resale value part of the battle. But I am not a Volvo fan.
All right, chat, that'll do it for today. I want to thank everyone for coming out and joining the live stream. A special thank you goes out to our Super Chat donators, Jock and Jonathan, as our top two for today. And I'll give it over to Dave here to close off our live stream.
Well, as always, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I love chatting with you guys. So it's my highlight of the week. Now I'm an old retired guy, and I don't get to do much fun anymore, and they only let me out once in a while. So it's really great to sit down and chat with you guys, and I really enjoy it. So take care, stay safe, keep the rubber side down, and we'll see you on the back haul. Good night, everybody.